Hey everyone, and welcome to 3 for 30, a surfcraft review where I will be reviewing 3 boards for 30 days. Ideally, we all want the perfect 3-board quiver that will work for any conditions our coastline provides. So in each episode, I'll be reviewing just that, a small board, mid board, and a long or big board. At the end, each board will be numerically rated using 6 different categories, which will give an overall score. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show. All right, so we're doing the small board with Brandon, and I'm actually gonna allow him to unwrap it. He's never seen this board, so I kind of want to see like what his first reaction is. I gotta get a smaller board bag in order for you to do this, but go ahead, unwrap it. It's like Christmas
morning.
Yeah. Ooh.
Oh, flames.
Flames. You know what flames are? They go faster.
Flames make everything faster.
Yeah.
Give me a hand so I don't
Yeah, of course.
drop it before we get in the water. Ooh.
Yeah.
Posture board.
Yep.
I've seen these a lot around lately.
Yep.
Look at this thing. Wow. Oh, 5'4". Look at that.
Yeah. What do you think?
Nice, man. Oh, it's got some nice weight, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. This thing looks fast.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it looks fast. It's got flames on it. It should look fast.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna go over kind of like all the techie specs.
Right.
So this thing is 5'4" by 19.88 by 2.4. Nose width is 16. Tail width is 16. Nose rocker is 3.6. Tail rocker is 1.25, which is insane. I've never seen a board with such less tail rocker. And the wide point is 6 inches above center. So wide point's right here. Tail rocker starts right here. And nose rocker actually starts right around where the wide point is as well. So I wanted to get you something that I think that is more in your speed and in your category. This
Right.
is the short circuit model, and it's a twin fin, but it's more of a twin fin of what I think you're riding. Obviously, we're probably just gonna stick with these,
Yeah.
right?
Sounds good.
Cool. So, just real quick, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this thing right off the bat looks pretty insane. It's got this little bump in the tail.
Yep.
You know, give it that slight little pull in, crank some tighter turns, hopefully.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, this thing looks like it's gonna do whatever I want it to do, honestly.
Sick.
Yeah, it looks good. Looks like it's gonna paddle fine.
Yeah.
5'4". I like that number.
Yeah, it's a good number for you.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, go surf it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be introducing the mid. Woo! All right, and now for the mid. So this is a little different. So I've been having the opportunity to try a lot of the smaller mid stuff, which is like in the upper 6s range. I did obviously the 7/8, the Trimcraft Haley pin. So I wanted to actually try something a little bigger on the scale of mids. Now this is not a longboard. Longboard's 9 feet. Longboard's 9 feet and up. So I consider this a big mid. This guy's 8'8" by 22 by 3. And this is the Arenal Anomaly. All right. This kind of came across the table yesterday, so I haven't even really had a good chance to like scope it out too much, but it looks pretty dope. Nose width 16.5, tail width 14.5, nose rocker, tail rocker 4 inches. It has a continuous no flat spot rocker, which is kind of cool. I've never had a board like this. I have like little areas where the tail rocker kind of starts and stops, but it just does continuously do it, but it kind of really starts to bump up here, and that's it. The midpoint is right here, which is 5 inches above center. It is 70-30 rails to a down rail and a tail. It does have hard edge where the fin box starts. So right around here. It's a simple design, flat bottom, spiral V to flat behind the actual, is it flat behind? Yeah, so it's flat right here, and then it still has that spiral V here. I'm psyched, I love these things. I love boards like this, and I've never tried this brand, and I don't know enough about them, and I'm psyched that it like kind of came across. Rails are slightly foiled and turned up bottom, so it's kind of right up my alley. Stoked on it, can't wait to ride it, showing you soon. All right, so last but not least, our longboard. Stoked on this one. This is the Yi Shapes. He calls this the blunt nose modern peg. I love this outline. I love blunt nose. I like the more wide point back stuff. This should be interesting coming off the Continental. Just something way different, but also super nose ride friendly. But a lot more action in the tail. Into it. So 9.4 by 23. I don't know how thick it is. Doesn't say. That's okay though. The nose width is 17.5. Tail width is 17. Nose rocker is 3. Tail rocker is 5. So it's going to be kind of cool because it's going to paddle really well because it has a low nose rocker. And then that kick in the tail, when you combine it, when this board is more like this, it should hold pretty well. Now, not only that feature will kind of help with nose riding, but there's some other stuff as well. The wide point is 5 inches below center, which is right here. The tail rocker starts right around here. The nose rocker starts right around here. So with the widest section of the board being right here, the wave is hopefully going to hold this board down and keep it so that way I can get up here and do my thing. Because I'm just so confident now with the Continental, I want to try it on everything now. Rails are slightly foiled, but just like the Continental, they're kind of tuned down and then tuned up from the bottom. The coolest part about this board, and you'll see it when you see it in the video, is if you can see it has almost like a pontoon boat style nose concave. So what it's doing is it's going down here, coming to a point, and then going down here. And it only goes till around right here-ish. But then the pontoon style on the sides just kind of keeps going. It's got a little roll through here and then a lot more roll in the tail. I've only heard about this pontoon style from like Devin Howard, like listening to him talk about what Thomas Bexon is doing in a lot of his boards. So I'm super interested to see how this stuff actually works. I dig it. I already love it. But let's see how it surfs. Now, with that said, I'm trying 2 different fins. I am trying the True Hands because I just love this fin so much. This is the 9.5 Aussie style fin, which I think is a great mix. And then I have this 10-inch Nomad fin. This is kind of new. He was nice enough to put the little Surfcraft Union logo on that. Thank you. Thanks, Corey. And we're going to give this a go, too. I'm thinking if I have this kind of slipping out a little bit when I'm on the nose, then I'll move to this. And maybe I might like this fin anyway. It's a little flexier than this fin. This fin's way stiffer. So this one has a little flex, a little give. we'll see what goes on. But I'm gonna go surf this stuff. Brandon's gonna go surf his little board, and we'll be back in a little bit. Brandon talk about the small board that he got to surf. This is, again, the Posteur short circuit. It was 5'4". Just overall, what did you think? Before we even get into categories, what was your thoughts on it?
At the beginning, I was super excited to get on it. And, you know, I was curious to see how it would go because it was a little thicker than I would anticipate a 5'4" to be. But overall, I feel like it was a fun board and it did what I thought it would do.
Cool. So let's get into categories. Maneuver, how did we do?
Maneuver. So right here in my notes, I gave maneuverability a 7. And 7, I wanted to give it a little higher score, but I just felt like I had to baby the turns, you know? We would slide out.
Okay.
You know, a little if I pushed a little too hard, which you would anticipate with a twin. But
Sure.
I would like to give it an 8, but I'm gonna give it a 7 just because it had that little slide out factor.
Okay.
So.
Do you want to give it a 7.5? We'll just stick with a 7?
I'll stick with a 7.
Okay.
Let's stick with a 7.
All right, that's cool. I do remember seeing you on one of the bigger days with this board.
Right.
And I will say that it did have that grip.
Mm-hmm.
But I also understand where a fish sometimes does feel a little slidey, having issues just keeping turns together without the tail sliding out and all that. So I get that. Drive, how did we do?
Drive. So drive, I had to give it an 8.
Okay.
And the drive was there, you know, one pump and I was going.
Cool.
You know, some boards tend to have a little lag. And for me, it was just one pump. I was going. The fins that were recommended, they definitely complemented the board. So yeah, one pump and you're moving. So drive's an 8.
Sweet. Flow, how'd we do?
Flow, I gave flow a 7. Just like with maneuverability, I wanted to give it a higher score. But I just felt like the flow was more. This board wanted to go more down the line.
Okay.
And for me, the rail to rail was a little off kilt. So with the flow, I want to give it a 7 just because I just felt like it suited a wave going more down the line than going top to bottom.
Okay. So what you're saying is it wanted to go this
right
instead of this.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. I gotcha. Okay. Volume distribution, duck dive.
Volume distribution and duck dive. I gave volume distribution a 5.
Okay.
And here's why. I just felt like, you know, there's all this hidden foam in the middle right here. And I felt like it just carried out a little too far into the nose.
Okay.
And that gave it, that's what helped give me that like 7 score to flow, just because that little bit of clunkiness that I felt. The duck dive was a little, you know, in part, maybe if I could split it up, it would be volume distribution 5 and duck dive 6, because the duck dive wasn't too big of an issue.
Okay. So then can we give volume distribution / duck dive a average of a 5.5?
We'll give it a 5 and a 5.
Okay, cool. I totally understand what you're saying, especially with having more volume than you feel that you need up front.
Mm-hmm.
I get that completely. That goes into longboards, and that also goes into the mids that I'm riding.
Right.
I definitely see what you're saying. This was the idea of more of a almost fish, but also shortboard. So I think maybe he went a little too far in the fish category and maybe needs to go a little bit on the shortboard category.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, definitely makes sense.
Okay. With that said, when it comes to paddling, what do you think?
Paddling, I gave a 7.
Okay.
You know, the foam is there. And definitely the wider nose helped a lot, that beakiness.
Okay.
If you scoot it up, I found myself, if I scooted up a little bit, trying to scratch into waves, I'd get in, no problem.
Okay.
And so it's plenty decent for a fish for me. Some people think that a fish is, you're going to be scratching into waves, if it's not, wide enough or thick enough. But definitely if you have that beakier nose, you'll get into waves no problem.
Cool. So with that said, this extra volume that you had up here helped you with paddling.
Absolutely.
But took away in other parts.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Special moments, what did you rate and what was it?
Special moments. I gave special moments a 6.5.
Okay.
Most people don't, for a twin like this, you wouldn't anticipate it to make steeper drops.
Sure.
Bigger waves. But yeah, I found myself knifing a couple drops that I definitely thought for sure I was going to eat it.
Okay.
So I want to give it a 6.5 just for that special moment of giving me the grace of getting into those steeper waves.
Totally. That makes sense. And again, we were talking about flow earlier. There's like very, very little tail rocker. So this board is going to go up and down in a flow state instead of aggressive top to bottom because of the lack of the tail rocker. So if that's something that you're more into, then this is a good board for you. Awesome. Well, thank you. And the next is the mid. All right, and welcome to the mid section of this review. This is, again, the Arenal Anomaly. This board had a lot of things that I really liked about it. One being the length, and two being, although this was almost a longboard, 8.8, it was a smaller package. In general, there's not a ton of area. You can see it's almost like a double ender style, pintail and pulled in nose. So felt smaller than what it actually was. But let's go to the scorecard. First off, maneuver, I gave it an 8. Although this is a longer mid, it turned well for its size. You're not going to be able to do full cutback style turns, or at least I couldn't, just because of the amount of rail line that's attached to this board. But I will say it turned very well for its size. Obviously the hard edge in the tail helps, obviously the pin tail helps, and also the lack of surface area in the front helped a lot. I've surfed boards kind of like this, but a little different. A good similar board would be the CJ Nelson. I had a Kula pintail in 8.3, which was obviously a much wider outline in the front, but the tail was very similar. Very similar shape in the tail, very similar bottom contour as well. So in general, also keep in mind this board surfs great backside. I actually think that it surfs better backside than frontside. Just the angles that you can get on your bottom turn backside, you can really push it, where the angles that you would normally get on your front side, I couldn't find them. But hey, if a board surfs better backside, that's pretty awesome. And it has a lot to do with the pintail. So the next category is trim. Oh my God, I forgot to turn my phone off. Oh, Brandon's on its way. Anyway, trim, I gave it an 8.5. Gliders trim, amazing, and consider this almost a mini glider style. It is small for its size, so it does need a little bit of a bigger wave to really feel that trim that you feel in the larger styles. But it trimmed great in the small stuff too. It did work well in small waves, but that had to do with also the amount of drive that it was getting. So drive category, 8.5. Lack of volume for something this size, plus the pintail and hard edge, made this thing feel very lively. Especially off the bottom, which projected lots of speed. So that's drive. Drive is projection of speed, that equals drive. Volume distribution, duck dive, I gave it a 7. Volume distribution, high. Duck dive, low. Obviously, I can't duck dive this thing. I'm about 135 pounds, 5'8". Maybe some of you guys could duck dive this, but I couldn't. But at the same time, this board was never designed to be able to duck dive. I mean, it's 8'8". Like, it's a lot of boards. So 8'8" by 22 by 3. So don't expect to be able to duck dive it, but I will say, do expect to feel very comfortable in bigger surf with it. I was able to get the nose down, but not able to get the tail down. That's just too much volume to try to push down for me. So paddling the bigger stuff, you get the whole board under. As far as volume placement, I didn't feel any weird spots where it was not necessary. Be aware that this board is more of a performance style long mid. It does want to turn, it does want to trim as well, but it's very lively, and I think that has a lot to do with the volume placement on this particular board. It felt really cool in all sections of the wave. Don't expect tip time, all right, because I think that it's just a little too narrow and also just a little too foiled. It's not meant for it, but don't be afraid to kind of creep up here and see what you can do. Maybe you could do it. I couldn't. And when I say tip time, I'm not talking about 10s. I'm talking about cheater 5s, stuff like that. So paddling, I gave it an 8.5. No hang-ups in the paddle department. Just enough nose rocker to not purl or have issues in less than perfect conditions. And also not too much rocker where you're pushing water. I was actually surprised that I could knee paddle it with the overall volume in itself. Again, 8'8", 22 by 3, but small package up front and in the tail, and really kind of come into this pinched rail, but not like hull pinched, or at least like some of the kind of more extreme holes, but does knee paddle, which was awesome. Special moments, I gave it an 8.5. I was fortunate to be able to go up north this particular month that I got to review this board and the Yi, and although we did not get the size we were hoping for, we got really glassy, fun waves up north, and this board just excelled in it. It was a lot of fun. I was pleasantly surprised that it also worked well in bigger beach break surf that we kind of get more in New Jersey. It handled itself, it felt good, and I felt confident. So that's definitely a special moment. To feel confident on something like this is kind of rare, but definitely felt it. So overall, final score, 8.15. Again, really cool board if you're in the middle of like trying to figure out which way to go between a longboard or a mid. This is a perfect compromise, and I really think it was a good time. So that's the mid. Up next is the longboard. One last thing I just wanted to add. I tried this fin, the Arenal by Rainbow. And I also tried my fin that I did with Corey, the 8.25, the speed fin. And actually, I didn't feel that this fin worked very well for it. And it's nothing against the fin. I think it's just because this has a good amount of, not crazy amount, but it has some tail rocker. So what I felt was when I was kind of up here in a pocket area of the wave, I felt this fin just kind of slip out. So I did move to the stock fin that comes with this board, or at least came with this board. Again, this was a used board. So I did try it. I tried it maybe about an inch from the top, and it felt amazing. No slip outs, no hang ups, felt great. All right, now onto the longboard. All right, longboard, Yi Shapes. This is the modern pig is what he calls it. But what it does kind of remind me of is, of course, and I kind of said it before, the outline reminds me of these Australian influenced nose riders, guys that I see surfing them, guys like Dane Peterson. You can see some amazing Noosa footage of him surfing Noosa on boards like these. I think his brand is called Unhinged. He's an amazing surfer. He's also an amazing photographer. Anyway, let's get to the actual review. So noseride, I gave it a 7.5. Although narrow nose compared to the Continental, I did feel that the pontoon style nose concave definitely created lift, but what you do need is a pocket style wave. All right, so you're gonna need something that's gonna hold down this tail, because this will create lift, no doubt about it, but you have to have this tail in the foam. Definitely felt very confident walking up to it. Felt great. As I did kind of think would happen, I had a couple quick 10s, longer cheater 5s, but of course that is my ability. I think someone that's more experienced, or someone that kind of concentrates more on 10 style surfing or nose ride style surfing, I think that they might get a little bit of a longer 10. Actually, I know that. But without a doubt, this board was a lot of fun, and it was nice to come off the Continental, something that's a little bit more bulkier, something that's more of a complete, let's call it technical nose rider, on something like this that is not a technical nose rider, but still able to creep up there and do my thing, just not for as long. But it's not all about nose riding. It's also about maneuver. So I gave this board a 7.5. General outline obviously is in favor of maneuvering. More pulled in nose is going to give less swing weight. Obviously the bulk of the volume is in the back half, so maneuvering should be a lot easier. I definitely felt too that you could kind of use your heel and toe to kind of get this thing to tweak a little bit. Now, the only thing that you have to keep in mind if you are more of a maneuver style surfer or wanting to be like that, this board does not have any hard edge in the tail. Can you ask him to put it in? Maybe. But I did find that because of the amount of roll, the turns were a little bit slower, where a hard edge and a little bit less roll would definitely kind of ignite the turn a little bit faster, give a little bit more of that turn on a dime situation. But definitely outlines in favor of maneuvering. Good time. Next category is trim. Gave that an 8. Continued trim and speed through sections. Definitely in waves that had a little bit of a bump, it still was able to trim through. I did find, again, as I said about the maneuver, with the trim too, you could use your toe and heel in the middle to kind of be able to be in that sweet spot for trim, but also to make little adjustments. Volume distribution, gave it an 8. Being the size that I am, I really like the wide point back Longboards, I am about 135 pounds, 5'8". So naturally a smaller outline in the front is gonna kind of work in my favor as far as doing what I like to do. So with that said, the narrow nose takes away the swing weight, as I said about in the whole maneuverability. But I did find also that it is pretty thick throughout the board and then comes to this pinch, but also it's pretty wide and the tail stays pretty wide. For anyone that has been starting to try to mess around with switch stance surfing, you know that naturally your front foot then becomes your back foot and your back foot becomes your front foot. So your balance is completely off. It's almost like learning how to surf again, especially if you're popping up switch. I did find that this board still gave enough volume where I felt comfortable getting up switch, surfing switch. I do this thing where I use my back foot and kind of use it as a pivot point and then switch my body to switch. This board did that great. Felt great. No hang-ups, felt awesome. Paddling, 8.5. Paddling the waves, great. Not bulky. Surfed this board in bigger surf one day. Unfortunately, I don't have video of it. Pretty big day. Not crazy, maybe like 6 foot. But that's pretty big for a longboard, especially for East Coast New Jersey. It was the day after a hurricane and felt very comfortable with this board. The nice thing about it, again, less volume up front, so paddled really, really fast. And the concave did not feel like it was catching because it went all the way through the board. And I don't mean it went all the way through the board, the concave, but the air never hit that spot. I don't know if you've ever seen like a real teardrop style concave, but sometimes those things paddle a little slow. This one does not. It's more of a continuous and then goes into the bottom contour. So felt very flowy as far as paddling. Special moments, 8.5. Again, coming off the Continental, it was refreshing to go onto a smaller outline board. The outline definitely is in more favor to what I want to do. It might not be the same outline that you want to have, but again, I'm surfing mostly back here and just starting to develop stuff up there. Got to surf this up north. I will still remain to not say the place, but this board definitely excelled in very, very clean beach break style waves. I also surfed it at a more rocky, almost point break wave. And let me tell you, this thing really started to move when the pockets started to show up. Unfortunately, as I'm looking down, there are just rocks and I guess seaweed and kelp coming up. So it was a little distracting. But overall, this board was awesome. Thank you, Yee Shapes. Great board, doing good work. Hope to get something again from you. Overall, final, I gave it an 8. I do really quickly want to talk about fins. I rode this Nomad fin, and it felt like it was maybe a little too much. And I went to the 9.5 True Hands, the Cheetah fin. And listen, this thing just like time after time just really works in everything that I like, especially anything this style. So this one I definitely feel was a little bit better than this one. This one was 10 inches, 9.5, but I think it has more to do with this being stiffer, this being a little flexier, and I don't think you need this big of a fin for this board. It doesn't have a lot of tail rocker. Although the tail is wide, I just didn't feel it was necessary. So that's that. All right, episode 6. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for checking it out. Please comment, share, like, subscribe across all of my social media stuff. I really appreciate. I love hearing from you guys, whether it be through DM or if I see you in the water, please come up and say what's up. And if you have any questions, please be vocal and ask. And let's keep it positive on everything. I've been very fortunate to not have anyone hate me yet, or at least that I know of. Anyway, my knick-knack is not a knick-knack this time. It's actually something that I kind of went back and forth with, but this being the 6th episode, I've gained a lot of confidence in myself because of this, and I wanted to kind of share something. November 1st will be the 1-year anniversary of me not drinking, staying dry, and I wanted to kind of let you guys know that this particular brand, this is Athletic Brewing, they kind of helped me a lot. It tastes a lot like beer, but it doesn't have all of the other situations that beer might bring up. This particular one, I was a big IPA guy, so this one is the Run Wild IPA. This is the Free Wave. This is a hazy IPA. I personally really like the Athletic Brewing stuff just because they have been doing non-alcoholic beers. That's their whole mission statement. There's a lot of beer brands right now that are now doing non-alcoholics, and that's great because it's a better cause, but it's just kind of like they're just jumping on a bandwagon. So these guys have been doing the same thing since the beginning of their brand. The other cool thing that I really like about these guys is that they just recently sponsored the WSL Longboard contest in Malibu, which was very refreshing in the idea that a lot of the surf contests in the past have always been like the Bud Light Pro or the Smirnoff Open, or even for me locally, it was the Foster's Pro. So to see a non-alcoholic beer company get involved in surfing is really cool. Not to mention, these guys also are a sponsor of one of my favorite podcasts, which is Smartless. And if you haven't watched or listened to that, it's absolutely hilarious. Anyway, that is my knick-knack, and it's not a knick-knack. And listen, this is maybe not for everybody, but if you're maybe drinking a little too much and you want to try to find a way to kind of curve it a little, this might help. It can't hurt. Even if you don't drink at all and just want to try a different brand of non-alcoholic beers, I definitely suggest it. I dig it. Nothing against all the O'Douls or Becks or anything like that, but this is just something that I kind of enjoy a little bit more. Anyway, thank you again. Really appreciate it. As I say always, stay safe, be nice, surf soon. Peace.